Good morning. Go ahead and call the Boise Airport Commission meeting to order. If we could start with roll call, please.
Commissioner Botsiger.
I'm here.
Commissioner Carlson.
Here.
Commissioner Cunningham.
Here.
Commissioner Crester-Radloff.
Here.
Commissioner Hughes. Levi's dog. Here she comes. We hit the same traffic.
Commissioner Hughes is here.
Here, Darrell Smith.
Here.
Vasconcelos.
Here.
Mr. Westerberg.
Here.
Councilman Morales.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. They were sent out prior to the meeting. Everyone's had a chance to look at them. Are there any changes or comments?
Mr. Chairman, having read the minutes and agree that they expressed nothing that didn't happen here that day, I move they be approved.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any Any opposed? Okay, the minutes have been approved. Next item is unfinished business, and there is none, so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, Airport Director Hubb's report. Director Hubb.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. We have a full house today. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving and unencumbered travel. So we'll just kick it off with what's been happening here. Which device is going to work for the presentation? So we'll kick it off. I'm going to start with just an overview of our operations and some runway closures. I won't read all of these to you. Most of these were planned runway closures for maintenance in order to maintain the runway surfaces. We have to do a lot of painting and markings, removal of weeds, some of those things. So we did have some substantial closures during the month for maintenance. We also, and I have a slide on this, we also had a closure for some instrument landing stuff that I'll talk about in a minute. We closed temporarily for a very short period of time for about 5 minutes when we had a small aircraft that crashed off the end of the runway on Wright and Orchard Street. So there was a 5-minute closure there. I think probably the one that everyone has heard about is this one. It could not have come at a worse time, one of the busiest travel days of the year. We had a combination of dense fog and a failure of our navigational system, which is maintained by FAA's tech operations. And the runways were not closed, but they were not able to be used. So it's a very small distinction without much of a difference. The end result is the aircraft were not able to land or take off. So they have been restored. FAA did come out and fix the issue, but it did result in multiple delays and diversions over the Thanksgiving travel period. Moving on to happier topics, construction continues as planned on our rental car facility. I won't read the slide to you, but we are in the process of working on the interior. So things like the terrazzo floors, the cabling for the information technology, and the tenant improvements will begin in March. So we will complete our portion of the construction in March and then turn it over to the tenants so that they can build out their customer service areas, install signage, those types of things. And we continue to make good progress on our concessions. They can't come fast enough. We had 2 open this last month, the Up and Away by Flying M, which is out on the B concourse, and also the shop at Treasure Valley, also on the B concourse. We have a few left to open. Bardenay, Form and Function, Starbucks will all open later this month, and then Wendy's will be the last to open in February. We continue to make progress on the Terminal Concourse A design. We're continuing to work on The schematic designs, we had a workshop in November, and we actually have a second workshop with the contractor and architectural firms and all the sub-consultants going on this week. So the next steps will be schematic design, 100% will be due in December. So, big milestone. Doesn't seem possible, but it was just a few weeks ago that we were in the midst of a federal shutdown. And that presented its own challenges, but our community really rallied, and we had a number of groups that donated food, provided meals, including the Chamber, Delta Airlines. We had groups that provided gift cards, including Blue Cross and Jackson Food Stores, Idaho Power, Parodies, LaGuardiere, one of our concessions, and also Delaware North, our concessions, all chipped in to provide meals for TSA and ATC. We did a food donation drive that we included the public, and we raised over 1,000 and collected over 1,000 pounds of food for TSA and federal employees who needed help. Travel can be stressful. Those of you who travel know that. We have a sunflower lanyard program, which is an indication across the country that someone has a hidden or invisible disability. You can wear the lanyard. It was a signal to people who are familiar with the program that you may need extra help. So we were showcasing that this weekend or over the Thanksgiving holiday. And also we had the therapy dogs on hand to help ease some of that travel stress. We also celebrated the groundbreaking of our fuel farm. This project was about 3 years in the making. It happened very quietly, and it's something that's been ongoing and in process, but I can't overstate how important this is. As we've continued to grow here in Boise, it's incredibly important that we have adequate fuel storage and fuel supply on the airport. We can do all the things that we want. We can build all the facilities that we want, but if we don't have the adequate fuel supply for the airlines, it would be a real challenge. And so the airlines are investing. They are the ones who are building this. They are leasing airport property, but that project will be completed in spring of 27. It's a multi-phase process with multiple locations, the storage facility as well as the truck loading rack. So excited to see that project taking off. We also are announcing the selection of the artwork for the consolidated rental car facility. The artist that was selected by the panel is Chad Otis. He's a well-known illustrator. I believe Commissioner Carlson was on the selection panel, so maybe she'll talk some more about the selection process as part of our commissioner comments. But this will be on the base of the car rental facility, so it will be visible as you drive up the entrance way to the airport, entrance roadway, and it will be a signature statement piece of artwork at the Boise Airport. It's part of our 1% for Art program. Also wanted to highlight some employees who have been promoted. We have Renee and Brett, who many of you have seen before and know from their great work on the projects that they've worked on at the airport. And then I don't see Vince here, but Vince is with our airfield maintenance team, and we've promoted him to the lead position. And I do want to give a shout out to one of our partners, Tara Sterling. You probably recognize Tara. Tara is here, and she hates the attention. But for 2 years in a row, she's been named the most valuable player for Delaware North, for Parodies. We're lucky to have her here. She's a great asset to our airport and obviously to her company. And does training for other locations. So thrilled to have Tara here. And then October employments were up only 2%, which, you know, I think there are a lot of factors that go into this. I think certainly the federal shutdown and the uncertainty that people face with travel caused people to change or cancel their plans. So, still an increase, but not as much of an increase as we thought we might see. Passenger counts year to date continue to be up about 6%, so 2025 continues to be strong. The other thing I would note is that last year we were up pretty substantially in October. So even though it's only 2%, it's a 2% increase on top of an increase last year. So still very strong growth that we're seeing. And then on the revenue side, some of these things that, for example, all in line with what we would expect to see, but our landing revenue is slightly changed because we're basing this on estimates and we'll bill those as part of future reconciliation. The same thing with the terminal rents, the TNC, which is the transportation network company. So think Uber and Lyft. That's up because of increases to the fees. The decrease in landing and freight is due to a decrease of FedEx landings being down by about 68% compared to October. And then the advertising is just due to some timing differences. And then the non-terminal, the rent for airlines is due to CPI increases on office rentals. So some variations there. On the expense side, the only thing that I would mention is that the software and cloud services increase is just due to a timing in payments. So, and a subscription. And we're stuck. That concludes my report for the month.
I have one question, if we could go back and ask about that FedEx decrease. It seems like an unusually high drop. Was there something that changed operationally for them, year over year? It just seemed unusual to me.
It is unusual. They did not report any changes to us. So I'm not sure if they had something additional going on last year or.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, Commissioner Bestels?
Just curious, with the new fuel farm, will we still need to have fuel trucked in from the other location like it is now?
It will be trucked from the downtown location to the fuel farm and stored out here. They will have the ability in the future to connect to either the pipeline directly because their fuel farm is going to be adjacent to the pipeline, or also possibly rail because there's a rail spur that is in the vicinity. That it was not part of the initial project, but it is an opportunity for the future.
You know how many days of supply the fuel farm will have on site here?
The goal will be 7 to 10 days of supply on site.
Mr. Chairman, Rebecca, as I recall, back when I was on the commission years ago, there was a time when the airlines started to run out of gas, and there was some concern expressed. And as I recall, a consultant was hired to study the situation and reported at that point in time that we didn't need to do anything.
That was the case.
There was some considered opinion that we needed to do something. So I'm pleased to see there is a fuel depot being constructed.
Yes, at the time, I would say we were much smaller. I think that was probably back in 2015, so maybe a full decade ago, probably about 1.5 million passengers. I don't know how we would equate that in terms of flights, but I think there was some thought at the time that we did not need additional fuel storage, but today we most definitely do need fuel storage. And it's not the airport that is building it, it is the airline. So it's a need that they see and that they are investing in. And I think it's a very wise investment, and it will help us to better accommodate existing flights, but will also position us to be able to accommodate future growth. So thank you for raising that.
Just another fuel farm question. I may have missed it, but where is it being constructed?
So it is being constructed off of production. The farm itself is being conducted off of production. So do you know where the fuel takeoff valve is? No, so if you were looking at it, it's very close to, it's over by the SkyWest hangar. So if you were to go from here down production, you would see it on the right, just before you get to the corner there.
Okay.
So it's very close to the other fuel farm that's out there, which is not an airport or an airline fuel farm, but it's privately held. The Idaho Pipeline Group owns that, and I believe the Guard gets some of their fuel from there, or in the past has gotten some of their fuel from there. It's south of the taxiway, but over in that general area.
Okay. Mr. Chairman.
And pardon me, Rebecca. That new farm, is that gonna tap into the fuel line that comes across the airport?
It is not at this time. So right now, it is adjacent to the line that comes across the airport, but it's not tapping into it. They have that option in the future. Because they're very close to it, they could do that, but that adds additional layer of complexity and cost, and so they opted not to do it right now, but it doesn't mean that they wouldn't opt to do it in the future.
There, if they ever need it.
It is an option for them.
Smith.
So separate topic, you had a slide on the 21st of November, the dense fog and the naves going down. I was just curious if those are two unrelated and just poorly timed events, or was there a relation between the weather and the nav issue?
The NAVAIDs are all maintained by the FAA, and I think it's just a coincidence. If we hadn't had that level of dense fog, people probably would have not ever realized that the NAVAIDs were down, but because of the severity of the fog situation, we needed to have that higher level of navigational aid, and it just not great timing.
Any other comments or questions for Director Hump? Being none, we'll move to the next item on the agenda, Commissioner's comments. Commissioner Vasconcelos, can we start with you, please?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to apologize to Michelle because I said I would be attending by Zoom. And then it turned out that I could make it in person, which I would prefer to do. So, sorry about that. A little surprised. After our last commissioners meeting in November, my wife and I hopped on a plane from here to Austin, Texas. And I never seen the airport before, but it's pretty impressive airport with lots of concessions. And I think ours were great, but it was really kind of amazing to see what a big airport, a big city like that has to offer. We took Delta through Salt Lake on the way down and on the way back. We had to go through Seattle on Delta, so it was a little longer, but everything went smoothly, and it was good to be back in Boise Sunday.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Kretzler, Radlow.
I have no real relevant comments other than to congratulate those that we saw were promoted, as well as the success of the festival.
Thank you. Commissioner Carlson.
Thank you. I also want to provide my congratulations to the promoted folks. Well done. And also for Tara for being recognized. That's very, very impressive. 2 years straight in a row. Now you're going to be the GOAT. So be watching carefully. With regard to the Conrack Park project, there were a little more than 50 submissions that we reviewed, and then we narrowed those down to the top 3. And there's very clear direction about recognizing the history, the presence, and the future of aviation here in Boise at the airport. And this particular artist, I think, loved the colors, where I think it's going to be very impactful because you're going to see it when you approach, and also the big banners that come down that will repeat the theme. So It's gonna be a very impactful installation once it's completed. So thank you.
Brigadier General Smith.
I think I'll just echo words from Rebecca. It seems like it was a blink ago and we were talking about this goofy thing called a shutdown. And it's always great to see the community engage and embrace the hardship with giving. I would just offer that we need to probably remember that kindness now that the shutdown is not a headline. We go into the holiday travels, and I don't think TSA people get the best side of most people as they're traveling. So it would be great to see that spirit continue, but it's good to be done with that. Anything else?
Commissioner Hughes.
Yeah, I don't have any real additional comments other than happy holidays to everybody. It's our meeting before the holiday season, so hope everyone has a great holiday with their families and friends.
Thank you. Commissioner Westerberg.
Thank you. Just a comment, it used to be well known with the traveling public a few years ago that if you were connecting out of Salt Lake during the holidays on a regional jet, there's a good chance you'd be like I had to do several times as they fly over Boise and can't land. They return you to Salt Lake, kick you off, and you rent a car and drive back to Boise. So they're fixing that. Don't get on I still wouldn't get on a regional jet.
Commissioner Bosiger has joined us online. Commissioner, would you like to offer any comments?
Good morning. I don't really have any comments. I'm coming in from Tucson. We flew down here this morning early. The only thing that I do want to say is I believe that Meg Carlson has an honorary 2025 Living Legends that she should be celebrated for. So congratulations to Meg. But I wish everybody happy holidays and safe travels.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bosinger.
Congratulations, Meg. Okay, that concludes commissioner comments. We'll move to the next item on the agenda, the airport staff report, which will be done by Rebecca again. So I'll turn it back over to Director Hunt.
Well, thank you. This is the time of year that I like to take a minute to pause and look back on all the things that have happened over the last year. And just like the shutdown, there's so many things that happen over the course of the year, and we do something and then we just move on and don't look back. And I think it's important that we take a minute to reflect really the great work that our team has done over the last year, because we report on it and it seems like an incremental change or an incremental growth. But over time, these actions that our team work on day in and day out really add up to significant change. And so I'm excited to share with you, if my screen will advance here, a summary of 2025. This is our 99th year. As we've talked about, we will be celebrating our BOI 100 next year, and I'm really looking forward to that. But before I jump into all of the great work that's been done, I want to just start with a conversation about how we decide what we're going to be working on. And we always start with our mission, vision, and then what our themes and foundational pillars are. And I'm not going to read this to you verbatim because you can all read, but really our vision is to be the premier gateway for Idaho, to be an economic driver. And that translates into our mission, which of course the foundation of our mission is safe operations. But beyond safe operations, we really have three pillars, and that is to provide the aviation infrastructure that's needed by our community, to drive economic development, and then to be a strong community partner. And we do that by focusing on operational excellence, capital infrastructure, financial resiliency, culture, and advocacy. And then throughout those pillars, there's some themes around innovation, efficiency, and engagement. And so you will see those things throughout each one of these areas and the things that we've worked on over the last year. So that brings us to the work plan. And it's hard to imagine that just a year ago, our concourse was just a concept. And today it's a plan, there's a design, we're working through it. The level of detail the list of things is I don't want to say mind-boggling might not be the best term, but it can be overwhelming when you start to think about all of the different pieces that have to come together, from baggage handling to mechanical to aircraft parking plans to security access plans, design, all of the things. And so we've really made substantial progress on this thanks to Beth and her team. There's a lot of work that goes into this, from picking the architect, the owner's representative, which is Jacobs, who's our advisor, to picking the contractor. So now we have a contractor on board with Hensel Phelps. All of that process, the selection, the RFP, we have an airline technical rep. That's how we get to this point. And it's just multiple steps that get us to where we are today. And so really exciting to see this project starting to take shape. Same thing with the concessions. That was a project that we started at the end of the last fiscal year with a request for proposals. And this past year, we've been focused on implementation. Our partners have been focused on implementation. We're not quite over the finish line yet. We're really close. And we have a lot of great new products to offer our passengers. And so we're very excited about that. And I think probably this time next year, we won't even think about this anymore. It'll be old news and we'll have moved on to new things. But I want to take just a minute to celebrate how exciting it is for us to have these new concessions. And of course, we have to be planning for the future. Our master plan, we kicked that off this year. Maybe planning isn't as exciting to some people, but it really is going to lay the foundation for where we're going for the next 20 years. And we're going to look at how all these pieces are going to come together. And this will set the foundation for the work that we're going to do in the next 5 years and 10 years. So also exciting. We've talked about this quite a bit, but again, steady progress, seeing the project starting to take shape. This time next year, we'll be talking about how it's been implemented and open, and we won't even think about when we had rental cars in the terminal and when we had them parked right outside the door here. And we'll be on to doing other things, but exciting to see that taking shape. This probably, unless you fly, this maybe isn't quite as visible to you, but some of the improvements that we've made on the airfield, I think to Russ's point about, I do remember the days when we didn't have the navigational capabilities to land in extremely low level visibility. Same thing, this is going to enhance our operational capacity with the expansion of a de-icing apron and also building out the apron for Concourse A. It's the first part of that project. And in the interim, it's going to give us some much needed parking spaces for aircraft to remain and park overnight. I think we talked about this quite a bit already, but again, multiple years in the making, a substantial investment by our airline partners in our infrastructure and facility. And we're not going to go anywhere without the right fuel. So we're excited about that. Moving on to our next strategic pillar, which is operational excellence. It's making sure that our team has the knowledge to perform its duty safely and efficiently. Number of different things that we did this year, including the triennial exercise. Again, it's a regulatory requirement, but we exercise our plan and our emergency plan. So when we have emergencies like the aircraft that crashed on Orchard and Wright, we're prepared. We know what to do. We also completed our Part 139 inspection, which is an annual inspection by the FAA. 0 discrepancies. Again, it's the daily actions, day in and out of our team, that makes that possible. So there's a daily self-inspection program, record keeping, all of those things. Maybe not glamorous, but it's the thing that keeps us operational daily. Then some other things that we're doing to enhance our capacity and our efficiency. We're implementing common use technology. We did a request for proposals for that earlier this year. We are now moving from concept to implementation. So we'll be implementing that in 2027. Also looking at the gate utilization study that's informing how we're allocating gates moving forward as we go through this big construction process, because there are going to be some phasing and some moving that's going to have to take place. So other things of note, the return of Frontier Airlines and the addition of air service. Alaska Airlines added nonstop service to Ontario and Bozeman, and then they upgauged many routes to accommodate demand, including Portland and Seattle. And then American Airlines resumed service to Chicago, which was a big win, and Southwest added additional frequencies to San Diego. So again, it's small changes, increases in passenger capacity, and increases in frequency. That's what adds to growth at our airport. Also on operational excellence, we ordered some new fire equipment this year. Our 2 fire vehicles were at the end of their useful life, so we've replaced those with new modern equipment. And then we are transitioning to a new firefighting foam that is more environmentally friendly. So, and then financial resiliency, this pillar reflects on how we are able to withstand things like the COVID pandemic and economic recession, making sure that we have the resources, the financial resources, and the people resources in place to withstand a downturn, but also to move our projects forward. So one of the things that we focused on this past year is our airline use and lease agreement. We did do an extension of our airline use and lease agreement for 1 year with our airline partners, and they approved funding for the design for the concourse expansion, but also the baggage handling and BOI upgrade, and also some roof repairs. And we will be I'll talk about it a little bit more when we talk about this next year, but we'll be renegotiating our airline use and lease agreement in the near future. The Turo lease, if you're not familiar with Turo, I think we've talked about it before, but Turo is basically a person-to-person car rental facility. It's like Airbnb for cars, is probably the best way to explain it. We entered into a lease agreement with them where we get a percentage of their revenue. So that has added additional revenue to the airport. We've also been focused on development, and so we constructed an access roadway on the northwest side of the airfield that will allow access for some GA hangars that are being developed. And we also did the RFP for hangar development on the southeast side of the airport and selected 2 proposers to construct hangars. So those will be some new aeronautical development. In addition, we have a master developer agreement that continues to move forward with some additional non-aeronautical development that is primarily taking place over off of Victory Road. But we have a new 88,000 square foot building that is now leased and generating revenue to the airport. And there's another 200,000 square foot building that's currently under construction. They have 6 leases already, and that will continue to move forward. So collaborative culture, we try to weave this into everything that we do, but a couple of examples are what we already talked about with the government shutdown, the food drive, and also working with Alaska Airlines to get the fallen soldier cart that they donated to the Boise airport. Those are just a couple of examples. And then advocacy, a couple examples is the work that I'm doing with AAAE on behalf of our industry around regulatory and funding. And then another example is girls in aviation. So that was a great event, very well attended. 200 plus girls that participated in that, and some of our tenants participated as well. We talked about this as well, but the hidden disabilities, accessibility, we also opened family restrooms and implemented visual paging. So thinking about how we advocate for people who maybe have different needs Moving on to what's ahead. I should say, new fiscal year. Yes, we are only in fiscal year 26. We're heading into 26. So, we'll transition to implementation of the common use system. So we're going from planning to implementation, working on de-icing with the airlines to streamline that. On the capital infrastructure side, we've talked about this before, but we'll start work on the baggage handling, the central utility plant, continued design for Concourse A. We will have a roadway project for reconstructing the terminal roadway. And then we'll have a variety of airfield projects as well that we've talked about in the past. We're really going to focus on employee recognition this year. And then we'll have, for financial resiliency, we'll be working on our non-aeronautical property plan. We'll probably be issuing revenue bonds at some point during the year to fund our BOI upgrade program. And then we'll be implementing a lease management program. And then for advocacy, we will be celebrating our 100th anniversary of BOI. And then as we look beyond 2027, and I would be remiss if I didn't point out a number of the projects that we were working on in 25 will continue into 26, like the consolidated rental car facility. There's the master plan, all of the work that we've started, but our multi-year projects, those will continue in 26. And then as we look out beyond 27 and beyond, we have Concourse A construction, the airline use and lease negotiation, runway incursion mitigation improvements. At some point, we'll be looking at doing phase 2 for the consolidated rental car facility. We'll be reviewing what will be the next steps for remodeling Concourse B, other non-aeronautical development that we might be wanting to take on. And then taxiway and taxi lane rehabilitation and preservation. I'm sure there'll be a number of airfield projects, but that's just a peek at what we're expecting beyond 27. And that concludes my report.
Any questions or comments for Director Hupp about that report? Commissioner,
Mr. Chairman, I think it'd be appropriate to make a comment at this point in time. Much of the success that we've had, Rebecca's been putting out has been while she's had her very competent hand on the tiller. So I'd like to congratulate you on that. I remember when Rebecca came here, and much of what we see and we take in pride in today has been under her stewardship.
Thank you, Russ.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, Rebecca, I just want to acknowledge the value of building an organization like this underneath a strategic plan and how great it is. It really allows focus and prioritization for everybody who is then part of that process and then part of implementing it. So it is definitely best practice and
Thank you, Commissioner Colson. Any other comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to the final item on the agenda. Oh, did Commissioner Boesiger have a comment? I want to forget her.
No, I don't. Thank you.
The final item on the agenda is where provide the general public with an opportunity to offer questions or comments. Is there anyone seated here that would like to come forward? Let's see anywhere. Is there anyone online who'd like to make a comment? Okay, seeing none, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner
I
Carlson,
move that we hereby adjourn the December meeting of the Boise Airport Commission.
been moved. Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.